So, good morning, David.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. So, we started the Council Connections a couple of years ago. Tell me, you had this idea.
Well, it wasn't all my idea. It was the summer of 2020. I was a member of the Residents' Council, and there wasn't much going on around here. All the meetings were by Zoom, and if they were meeting at all. And we had the feeling that people weren't knowing all the things they could have known, what was happening. And Michelle was doing a very good job of her weekly addresses. In fact, they were a couple times a week at that point. But then she said she was going to go on vacation. So I said to the council one meeting, well, we should take over giving news to the community. And they said, that's not a very good idea, Dave. That's not our job. So the next time the council met, I said, I have a different idea. How about if we bring news to the community via the 1340 Woodland Pond TV, and we bring in different chairpersons of the various committees around the community? And they thought that was a good idea. Suzanne, the president, said that's much more what we should do.
I was then in the council already, I believe, or
don't
it was the
think
year
so.
before.
I think it was the year before, but you were always an interested citizen about it. And so what I did, so they said, okay, Dave, this is your idea, you do it. And that was fine with me, so I called up about a half a dozen of the committee chairs, starting with people I had already a relationship with, and asked them if they thought it was a good idea and would they like to appear. Everybody said yes. Everybody except one. And he said no because his committee wasn't meeting. This was Ted from the Health Center. His committee wasn't meeting. He said, I have no news for you, Dave. I'm so sorry. But all the others said, yes, we'd like to speak about what we do. So, and somebody suggested that since we were going to start in September, that it would be a great time to bring in the then Employee Appreciation Fund, now known as ROVE, because it was their campaign period. So I brought in Betsy Haight. We did about a half-hour interview. No audience, because we couldn't afford people in the room. And some people watched it and liked it, and then I had, the dining committee, I had Joan, I had Dawn from your sustainability committee, and others. But I have to tell you the thing about Dawn. I was asking her questions, and then maybe halfway into the interview, she said, Dave, I have a test for you. What do you mean? She grilled me, asked me questions about what was recyclable and what wasn't, and she brought several, maybe 8 or 10 examples. I think I got one wrong, but I got most of them right. So we had fun, and I think she had fun, and other people who saw it had fun, and so I was doing, the interviews, and then I said, wait a minute, I like doing them, but there's some subjects and some committees I don't know anything about. I don't know much about. So I asked somebody on the Residents' Council who was liaison to that committee or involved in it, would they care to, and everybody said yes to that as well. And then it became a much better, a much broader, a much deeper program. And everybody had fun. After they would do their interview, that was such a good time. And the person being interviewed said, yeah. And we always got to talk about some personal part of that person's life, not just their life at Woodland Pond.
That is one of the things that, sometimes people are not quite aware, because we see functionaries of, on the management, on their task.
Yes.
But we barely get to know anything further. The same thing for some of the committees.
So you talk to say, how did you get to be here? How long you been at Woodland Pond? This is for a resident. How long you been at Woodland Pond? What did you do before? And how does that relate maybe to what you're doing now? And a lot of people have some background in an area, or have a background in running an running a club or a committee. When we ran out of committee chairs, which didn't take long at two sessions a month, somebody said, well, we should go to the management people, and they were all endorsing it as well. And they seemed to have fun. But that was what you're saying. You get them to talk for a couple minutes about where they grew up, where they went to school, what they did before they got here, what they like about being here, and that became a much better program.
I thought it was a great idea, basically to build community. Because not only, of course, during COVID, that was one of the few things that you could do in a group.
Correct.
And but then it turns out that this is a necessity of building a community, getting people to know each other, and also people that are coming new that they didn't know, and therefore the fact that we could record those and have them on
Have a
the
library for them. Yeah.
library video channel,
Right.
basically.
Right.
It's great because I mean then people can just go back and say, oh, let me
I can,
see what.
yeah, I can see what this committee does or what that committee does or learn more about that person. Also during the early time, Woodland Pond TV was allowing different residents come in and interview each other if they wanted to, read a poem, read a story,
Yep.
Demonstrate a skill, talk about a hobby. We were putting all kinds of things on TV. So this, the beginning of this didn't sound like it was so far-fetched to, let's put a different, my hands are all over the screen, put a different show on. But I'm glad that when I left the council, that you all who are on it now, continued it in a slightly different way, but I'm glad that it's still going, and I hope it continues to still go.
Yeah, I mean, I was totally enamored about the idea. I mean,
yeah,
I felt that it was such a good tool to have and to let people kind of, because unless you have an opportunity to sit face to face with somebody for dinner or something, a lot of the people we don't have, I mean, that
Correct.
kind of interaction. And so when you formally retired, you stop being paid for your
right.
job.
The residuals come in, yeah.
I felt that this is a great idea, and the council went along with that. We changed it a little bit in the sense that we didn't have it like twice a month. And by the way, I mean, I think you had certain idea why do it on the Thursday of the council meeting.
So the council meets alternate Thursdays,
Yeah.
and when we decided to do this twice a month, someone on the council said, well, Dave, we could do this on the weeks that the council doesn't meet. So we have something going on every Thursday. He says, no, you don't understand. On the day that the council meets, it's a day I don't play golf. So if I'm gonna give up golf for a day, let me give it up for the whole day. Let's do this in the afternoon. But also at the beginning, there was another proposed function was that we were going to bring news of the council to the community. And we did that the first couple of times, but it never seemed to be much not earth-shaking things to say. And that kind of went away, and I don't necessarily think it's been done. And it doesn't have to be done because there's other ways the council can communicate.
Yeah, but I mean,
itself.
it's not a bad idea to do it. I mean, and this gives me some further thought because I was not quite aware of that,
Yeah.
and we didn't do it this last year. But I think that there is a lot of information that doesn't reach to everybody. Some people, for instance, don't get information from the Chanticleer that appears every week. Some people don't go on the YouTube channel, and so on and so forth. So I think that there is a big need for improving the communications in the community.
Just as you're saying that, I'm thinking that if there was like a minute summary of the committee reports, what has happened the last month in the different interest groups and committees that people might not be aware of. It might not be something that rises to the level of, hey, next month we're doing this as a big event, sign up for it. But this is what we've been doing. This is how, for instance, the dining committee came to a conclusion that this change is going to be made, or some other, a little bit of background. Maybe it would help, maybe it wouldn't.
This is a great idea. I mean, as a matter of fact, I mean, I'm going to see how we can do that. I
His
mean,
wheels are turning, folks. His wheels are turning.
I know. I mean, these are great ideas, and that's why, basically, the choice of the name, Council Connections.
Right.
I mean, it's the perfect, the perfect name for this.
Interesting you say that, because we talked about what to name it, and one alternate was going to be, was trying to go with the CC thing. Was going to, because we had a council corner newspaper.
In the paper.
Somebody suggested council conversations, but that was a little more limiting. The connections where it seems that we were reaching out a little bit more, a little bit better. So that's kind of how we came to that. But there was other names under consideration at some point.
What is good also that now, I mean, at least for the last year, where I kind of took over your job.
Your job.
Was that we were getting an audience, because at the beginning, these interviews, it was difficult because you had like two people talking to the camera,
right,
without anybody
very
in the audience,
artificial.
and it was odd. It was odd.
Yeah.
It's kind of gives it a different dynamic.
You're not getting any feedback from the faces or the hands
Yeah.
raising and the, I have a question. You made me think of something.
Yeah,
people,
and
yeah.
so over the year, I mean, when I had an opportunity, and also other people that we chose, because basically my job was basically to figure out which committees or which task groups or which managers we haven't seen in the last year or 2 years, and bring those onto, into the schedule.
And in some cases, there'd been turnover as a committee chair.
Exactly.
Or a couple of management positions changed where people got added. Yeah, so you brought them
exactly.
in.
So I think that this is a good thing that we probably should implement.
And if somebody's out there watching, and I hope even people in the audience today are saying, well, my interest group maybe has something to say, and contact Yakov or the council and maybe schedule an interview.
Unless somebody volunteers to take my job away.
It's yours, believe me, it's yours.
Well, Dave, I mean, it's great. I mean, and now we are going to show some clips from the last years.
An excellent idea, brother. I think it's an
And
excellent idea.
we will just go, a few minutes from each interview, and I ask both the interviewers and the interviewees to select maybe a few minutes from their session to put this all together, and I'm going to have Jason and Connor also help out with the mechanics
I'm looking forward to
put
seeing
it together to one video.
I'm very
so
much looking forward
stay
to seeing
tuned,
it.
because
I will.
mean, this is coming up right
now. Stay tuned. No commercial. Thank you, Yakov.
Okay, bye. Thank you, David. I mean, it was a great idea, great initiative.